You are now tuned in to the Lineman Lounge, the world's thickest sports podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Evo.
¿Cómo están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. I'm Mike. That's Evo. And we are back. It is Saturday afternoon. I just got done watching the Ohio State game, so we're a little later show today, but I am fucking pumped. We are rolling into week 7 of the NFL season. Our picks continue to absolutely slap. But, man, I'm pumped. It's getting cold out here in Ohio. I wish it would be a little cooler right now in my basement because I was sweating it out the last few plays of that Ohio State game. I did a late game bet on the under at 32.5. Thank God Penn State went for 2 at the end and did not get it. So that hit. But, man, I'm ready. I'm pumped. I'm ready to make some money for us and the people this weekend. But, Evo, my man, how's the weekend going? How you doing?
Hey, my weekend's going pretty good. It's Saturday? Yeah, Saturday.
It's Saturday, yes.
It's been, it's tough for me to keep track. I'm getting old, but it's been pretty good, man. Just did a little bit of adult beverage drinking last night and tried to catch the Orionid meteor shower as much as possible on the trampoline. There were fireworks, but no meteor showers seen by me because there were some clouds. So, and by fireworks, of course, I mean segs.
Yeah. Segs.
Sure. But either way, it's been a good weekend, man. Just chilling today, waiting for some NFL football tomorrow.
Hell yeah, man. We don't have an early game this week, which kind of stinks because I've been getting used to having that early game in the morning. It's been a nice little wake up, 9:30. Football starts. I don't have to wait till goddamn 1 o'clock in the afternoon because I'm out on the East Coast. So that has been fantastic. I do miss being out more towards your neck of the woods because, I didn't have to wait so goddamn long. But when your kids wake you up at 7 and then you got to wait till 1 for football, it turns into a long goddamn day. But there's some good games, and there's going to be a couple of real dog shit games that we got to go over this week. It'll be interesting to see how some of these things shake out, but we've been on an absolute roll. Youth sports-wise, I don't have too much to go over other than the fact football season's been done. Wrestling is getting ready to start. Graydon has open mats on Sunday. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it, though, because we're actually going out. We're going to do an event tomorrow. So if you're in the Ohio area, Cleveland area, Akron area, wherever, somewhere close to Independence, come out to Melt. Myself, all the guys over at Illegal Ham to the Face, Always Positive J. A couple other people are also going to make an appearance. We're going to do a fundraiser for Cleveland City Dogs. Hopefully raise some money for that organization. Portion of everybody's bill at Melt will go to help fund that. So that's going to be a really cool event. I'm not sure when that's all going to be done because we're going to pregame. We're going to do a pregame show. I'm going to drink and watch the game, and then it should be a lot of fun. Hopefully my Brownies come out on top, but we're going to talk about that game once we get into all of our picks.
All righty. Yeah, I wish I could be out there. I've been doing a hell of a lot of travel this year. So financially, it is difficult to make that many trips, especially, most of the stuff has been family stuff. So wish I could be out there, wish I could join in, but I'm going to be with y'all in spirit. And as we said before the show, hopefully not in solidarity. Hopefully the game is going to go good. But that's a really awesome event that's being put on. So everyone should check it out if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I don't really have to do much. I don't have to set anything up. I don't got to set up any of the equipment. We got an actual production company who's going to set all that up. So I get to show up and be the sleeveless, loud asshole that I normally am, which is going to work just great. However, the audio for this event is actually going to be pumped through the building while we're doing the show. So I am going to have to tone it down a little bit. Can't be dropping as many F-bombs as I would normally do. Glad that I learned that information last night rather than in the moment.
Yeah. That'd be rough, especially if you get a couple drinks in you and whatnot. Things are just rolling, they're jiving. You might say something that you shouldn't say.
Yeah. Speaking of getting a couple drinks in, cheers Ohio State got a big win. So let's start kicking off the show. Let's talk about a little bit of college football. Kind of been going on all morning. Couple of good games, couple of real clunkers. I mean, it's been interesting to see the way college football has shaked out so far this season. I'm not sure that we have seen a team be super dominant. Like we've seen Georgia's of the past, Alabama's of the past go out there, and they look like they are just everything that you need in a football team to go out and win a national championship. This year doesn't feel like there's a team that's really kind of running away with it. Alabama's obviously having a down year. Georgia has been very good, but they're not burying people like we have seen them do in the past. They lost Brock Bowers potentially for the rest of the year. One of the best pass catching weapons in all of college football, tight end or receiver. Guaranteed to be a first round pick, assuming that the injury is not too bad. I mean, just your blue bloods are not necessarily rising to the top, but we're seeing a couple other teams kind of creep in. We're getting a Florida State, and then we also have a Michigan who likes to cheat and go out and steal signs and break rules that have been in place since like 1994. So it's not like they didn't know that they were breaking the rules. But yeah, so your take on the way the college landscape is kind of playing out. We're hoping for more parity. NIL maybe create some more parity. And where are you at on this whole Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan cheating scandal? Because as an Ohio State fan, I'm not fucking surprised.
Well, I haven't looked into the cheating scandal as much as I should. I've seen a decent amount of it, but I haven't actually gotten into the nitty gritty of it. I'll say this as not a Ohio State or Michigan or fan really of any of these teams. I'm more of a fan of the players and enjoying watching prospects come out. I think that John Harbaugh is a low-hanging fruit for people to point fingers at and say that he's doing something wrong. He is very, very polarizing in a lot of ways to different people, whether it's the fan base or it pulls in NFL fans because of his time in the NFL and his brother still being a head coach in the NFL. It is an interesting situation. I'm not saying that he didn't cheat because I don't know. I don't know how in depth this all is. It's sign stealing stuff, correct? Like
sign stealing. But it's there. So the rule in college football is you're not allowed to send somebody from your team to scout another team in person.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently that they were sending personnel to games. There's potential that there was some recordings going on, video recording. So now you're getting technology in on this as well. It's a really ugly situation. And the fact that it's been so open, like forthright, the NCAA is announcing this, the Big Ten is announcing all of these things. It makes me feel like this is going to be a actual big problem. Normally, they try to just do these things very quickly under the table. Michigan imposes their own suspension, but they've already done that once to Harbaugh this year. Yeah. This is going to be a big deal.
The thing that I'm thinking here is that the reason why it's a little bit more open is because they've already gone after Harbaugh the once and didn't really get what they wanted. I think they wanted a much larger ban. I think that's why the NCAA is being a little bit more open with it. I'm going to say this. Look, if Harbaugh and the Michigan team is doing that illegal scouting, stealing, so on and so forth, they got caught. Probably most big programs are doing it too. And they're just doing it a little bit better. It's the same way in the NFL. I mean, we've had this conversation when you had the Patriots going up against the Cowboys and Schottenheimer for the Cowboys is saying, oh, they're going to be stealing our plays. They know our playbook, blah, 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 because Zeke Elliott's over there now. And it's like, well, yeah, they're like all these players know each other. A lot of them have played on other teams with these coaches. They know parts of the playbook. Also, you put your product out on the field every single week. You have those big parabolic mics on the sidelines picking up verbal calls. You even have Thursday Night Football Amazon Prime telecasts with high definition images of the play cards from the head coaches. All right. It's not like this stuff is all that much of a trade secret. Your game plan is the trade secret. Your plays and calls and things like that aren't. So it's, you can only hide so much. I'm sure to some extent, if not completely to the extent that's being talked about here with Michigan, that stuff was happening. but I would be willing to put good money that vast majority of top 25 teams are doing some version of that as well. Because otherwise you are at a competitive disadvantage. It's just better or worse, it's the name of the game.
Yeah, and listen, I don't disagree with you at all. Like, I believe that there are teams that almost probably every major program is doing this. They have some sort of edge. They have something that maybe feathers on the line of where the rules are. Even if they step across the rule, like it's probably happening. Now, obviously, I'm an Ohio State fan, so I'm going to try to bury Michigan. Like, I'm not going to hide the fact that I absolutely fucking hate Michigan. But it's interesting that it gets brought up, and then we're only talking about that one person. But this is more than likely going on at all sorts of organizations, all sorts of programs throughout the country. And I don't have a problem with sign stealing as long as it's happening during the game. That is gamesmanship, and you should be trying to figure out their calls and what the fuck it is that they're doing in the game. Those are on the game adjustments. What is annoying is if there is some sort of AI algorithm being used to decode what is going on at an event that you're not supposed to be at because you recorded it. That's like the level of cheating scandal almost that we have with the Houston Astros. We're talking about the same type of thing. Now, if you're picking up signs in a game, like you're picking up you got three assholes on the sideline all calling plays, and you determine, okay, I figured it out. The guy in the fucking middle is the one who's actually sending in the real play, and I know what a couple of their things mean. That's great. You should use that. This is just a little outside of the rules of even the acceptable level of trying to cheat. If you just send a guy to a game, I don't think that should be a problem. To me, it makes sense to go and scout an opponent. But if you're using other things to figure out what their signals are, now you're taking it to another level.
Like I remember doing this in high school football. At the games, we would send, because in our, I don't remember what a division conference, whatever, we had 12 teams or something like that at the time that we would regularly play regular season. You send someone to each one of their games and you record it. Like they would record it, so that way we'd have.
It was either there's an exchange of film from another team that you have a relationship with as a coach, or that you're finding a way to go out there and have somebody there to scout. But we were watching film every day at lunchtime throughout the week, preparing for a game on Friday, and this is fucking high school.
Yeah,
so it's obviously going on.
Yeah, at the end of the day, unfortunately, like I said, these things are going to be. I mean, it's funny how it's a little bit more cloak and dagger espionage and stuff like that. But you and I both have been part of the military. We understand operational security, OPSEC. You have to protect your secrets. In college football, it seems silly. And in college sports and professional sports, it seems a little bit silly to have to do that, to think about the opposition side being an enemy in that regard. But it's human nature when it comes down to, like in college, these players, they weren't getting paid. Now they are getting money. These schools, a majority of money that comes in probably is coming from D1 level football. Maybe some D1 basketball at some places, but like football is a huge moneymaker. We've seen the increase in Colorado since Deion's been there. Mm-hmm. Fudging the lines and bending the rules and breaking them outright. Until you get caught, it's worth it in a lot of ways. And the only way to defend against it is to run just a super clandestine operation where you are holding all your practices indoors in a dome where you have security blocking everything off. And even then, you're going to have schools that will sneak a camera in somehow. They'll drill a hole in the roof and get a camera. Like that silly shit can and will happen if it continues to be made a big deal. At the end of the day, if I'm a head football coach, I'm accepting the fact that all of our stuff is being stolen. And I'm telling my players, don't let it matter. Be the best team on the field. That's what you have to do. It doesn't get Michigan or any other team off from, what they're doing. It's wrong. You should be better. But it's unsurprising at the least that any of this could be going on.
I'm just happy that I can toss a couple of asterisks now up next to Michigan's wins the last couple of years because they got really good in the second half of those games. I wonder how that happened. And now I don't feel so bad about Ohio State losing 2 in a row to Michigan. And I would be willing to bet that after what we have seen and heard and what has all gone on, there's going to be a massive spotlight on Michigan. They're going to have some sort of thing that knocks them down a peg. They're going to falter somewhere, and then people are going to point the finger back and go like, okay, this is why, because they can't fucking steal their signs or whatever it is. Maybe they run the table and nothing happens, but this will forever taint this last year and a half of college football for Michigan.
Yeah.
And if I'm a Michigan fan, I'm pissed probably.
I mean, it unfortunately, it gives an excuse to every team. They could beat them clean, and that is going to be the excuse for a while.
Yeah. And if you're a Michigan fan, you're like, no, my team's actually good. Finally, after a decade of fucking sucking dicks, like we're good again. Well, maybe you're good. Now you got to go back to
guess we'll find
all that. We will. So other games. So the Ohio State game, man, I was really looking forward to like a slugfest, and that's kind of what we got. But it really wasn't that great of a defensive performance. Ohio State's offense did not look good, and neither did Penn State's offense look really good. And I don't think it really had too much to do with the defenses. There was a lot of ugly quarterback play. McCord missed several guys who were wide open. Kid from Penn State, and I just forgot his name. He went to Medina High School here in Ohio. He had a very, very tough day. Like, could not get really anything going. The offenses were just stagnant. Penn State's defense is pretty okay. Ohio State has a really good defense, but what we saw was bad offense coupled with a couple of pretty goddamn good defenses. But Ohio State does come out on top. So a win's a win. An ugly win is a win, and I don't necessarily care about the adjective. I'm more concerned with the verb. Like, we won. That's what we did. We won. Who cares if it's ugly? I'll stack ugly wins all the way to a national championship if that's what we got to do.
Yep. And I'm going to butcher his name. Drew Aller is Penn State.
Yeah, Aller.
Is the Penn State quarterback. The interesting thing with Penn State is a lot of people are saying that they don't deserve to be as high as they are at number 7, that they've faced a lot of easy wins. I saw some stats earlier talking about them and their head coach and how they've basically only beaten teams that are outside the top 25. And when they face like top 25 teams, they don't win. So maybe there's something to that as well. But you would have thought that Ohio State could have put up a little bit more if that was the case.
It wasn't for lack of opportunities either, because we were multiple red zone possessions and they just could not convert when needed to, or we're kicking 3 when we should be getting 7.
Yeah. And then otherwise, right now we have Washington State and Oregon going on. It's tied 3-3 there in the first, and the kind of the bigger one I think people are probably watching is that Tennessee-Alabama game. Tennessee just put up another 3 points. They're up 13-0 at just about the end of the first here over Alabama. That's number 17 Tennessee over Alabama. So
yeah, Tennessee plus the points was definitely the right play for me this morning. So liking to see that.
Alabama is not the Alabama they have been the past couple of years. That's for sure.
They have not. But you know what? Your boys are in an absolute barn burner right now. Iowa, Minnesota tied 3-3. Start of the second quarter. And the only reason I'm going to bring this game up, I mean, I know you're a Minnesota guy, you're a Minnesota fan, but this over-under was at 30.5 points. The lowest over-under total in the history of college football. Neither one of these teams are any good at scoring, but Iowa plays fantastic defense. That is how they are ranked in the top 25, currently 24. But my goodness, I bet the over. I was like, there's no way that 30.5 is going to be enough to contain 2 college football teams. But right now, 30.5 looks like it might get it done. And that is fucking annoying.
Yep.
I hate betting unders, but
this is why up in the Midwest we like to drink a lot. It's because it makes it a little bit more entertaining when you have the black and blue defense heavy run the ball type of football teams, just kind of smash into each other. What we do.
That is what we do. A little Midwest football, baby.
Mm-hmm.
But Brother, I got nothing else college football wise. You got anything else you want to go over before we kind of transition, change gears, and head over to the NFL?
No, sir. Should be good to go.
All right. So I got nothing else there. Let's go ahead and we'll start talking. We'll do a little recap of our Thursday night game. Turned out to be an interesting game. It should have been an absolute fucking runaway for the Jags. They controlled basically every aspect of that game. However, turnovers ended up hurting them, and the game stayed close, even though it absolutely should not have. Which team is this Jags team? Are they a good team? Or are they a team that just can barely squeak by opponents that barely score 20 points on a weekly basis? They gave up 24 to the Saints, who are abysmal on fucking offense. Which team are we looking at? Because the Jags that we were expecting coming into the season were the team coming off of a playoff run last year. And I don't think we've seen that yet.
No, the Jags, they're a very interesting team. They're a talented team, but it seems like they are prone to shooting themselves in the foot and not living up to their potential. I don't want to make the parallels between them and my Vikings as much, but it's like Vikings are a very talented team. They shoot themselves in the foot a lot. They're not living up to their potential. It's the same thing with the Jags. The Jags have been more successful this year than the Vikings, but it might have to do something with the opponents, or I don't know. Doesn't really matter. Either way, we talked about this a little bit during the game. I believe more towards halftime. The Jags should have had 2 to 3 more scores there in the first half. I would assume at least 13 points more. That's a touchdown and 2 field goals more in the first half alone versus the Saints team, which looked abysmal through the first half. They only really started to turn it on in the second half a little bit. And the fact that the Jaguars were able to let them come back that close and bring it down to a touchdown at the end, like they were tied up with only a couple minutes left. That's pathetic. That's terrible.
Concerning if you're a Jags fan.
The Saints are not a good team. Their defense is pretty good, but that offense just looks terrible. And honestly, it is not for lack of having good players there in that offense either. That is a offensive coaching situation there with the Saints. They maybe should just do a swap with Pittsburgh for Canada, because you know, one bad offensive coordinator for another, but maybe it works out in a different situation. I don't know. Either way, it was pretty bad there for the Saints. The fact that they were able to come back and get it that close, that's more of, again, an indictment against the Jaguars. The Jaguars should have been throttling them from the get-go, and they kept shooting themselves in the foot. That's not the recipe for success to get into the playoffs. I don't view them as, like, they're a team that could make the playoffs this year, but they will not make a run because they're just not putting it all together like they should be. And I feel like that is going to require another year of getting it figured out and fixed. I don't think that they're going to figure it out mid-season. Doug Peterson's a good coach. He's got a decent coaching staff with him. They're just missing some sort of a spark. Something isn't clicking with them right now.
They need a big-time playmaker on the defensive side of the ball. And they also need to shore up their offensive line a little bit. But if they get a spark on the defensive side, they need a guy who can go out and come off the edge, something, make a turnover happen, a big sack. Like, they're pretty decent, but they just don't have that big play guy. Now, you thought you were going to have that with a Josh Allen, who is interesting at times, shows a great burst, but is not consistent. I don't know. Have they had a guy go double-digit sacks? I can't remember. Like, they need a spark.
I don't know. And that's unfortunately a topic of conversation that brings into my Minnesota Vikings into it. Danielle Hunter was a trade target of the Jaguars before the season started. Their pursuit of him hasn't stopped. The reports are out there that they are still aggressively pursuing Danielle Hunter, and that the Vikings are listening to offers for him. That's Danielle Hunter, who is tied for the league in sacks. I believe he is like second in pressures behind Max Crosby, and leading the league in tackles for loss as well. Danielle's having a fantastic year. This is the last year of his contract as well. Most likely he will be gone. Unfortunately, he is getting a little bit older now. He will be 31, I believe, or so by the offseason. But he's someone that, you know, homegrown talent that is still seems like he is in his prime, that I would love to keep. But the way that my team is going, It sounds like Kirk Cousins has come out and said he will not remove his trade clause. Uh, and so the team is sticking with that. So us doing a total tank probably isn't in the books, but if
no, but you can sell off pieces that you don't think that you're going to be able to re-sign going off in the future. Now, Kirk, you know, is not coming back, but a Daniil, even though you'd probably like to keep him, but are you going to pay him what he's owed when you need to go out and address the quarterback position and do some? Because you guys are going to have to find a way to rebuild that quarterback room.
Yeah, this is the thing, is that on defense, Daniil is obviously our best guy out there, and he is basically our only edge defender that brings me any sort of like spark of happiness. You know, we have Davenport who looked good for a game and a half before he got injured again. And he was only coming in on a 1-year deal. The rest of the guy is a bunch of rotational Jags. And some of them I like, but still nothing special. You have the Jaguars, who are 5-2. And like I said, they're not a playoff run team at this point, but they're a team that absolutely can make the playoffs based off their record. They are ones that could be buyers here. They can afford a new contract for Daniil. So it makes sense. If we are able to get a second-round pick or more for Daniil Hunter, I'm kind of willing to pull the trigger at this point, because look, we've got a easy stretch of our season coming up after this week, a relatively easy stretch, but that's going to lead us to have a relatively close to 500 year. And that doesn't work out when you're trying to find your quarterback in the future. You're going to have to give up so much more trade asset wise to move up higher in the draft in order to get a guy that we want than if we just have a worse record. I don't want to tank. I hate the idea of it, but I like the idea of having a long-term solution at quarterback a lot more. So Jaguars, Daniil Hunter, that is something to watch. That is going to continue being talked about here, especially if we take a bad loss this weekend.
Yeah. Speaking of Jags, did we discuss the Jerry Jeudy, Steve Smith situation?
Yes.
Talking about Jags? Okay. All right. I couldn't remember.
Yes, we did.
If we hit that last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Bert, shut the fuck up. Goddamn pussy always needs attention.
Uh-huh. Bert's about to be a third character on this show.
Yeah, no kidding. No fucking kidding. But all right, man. So this popped up a little earlier. I'll pop it up now. Picks from last week. Pretty good, man. Pretty good. I went 10-5 at 66%. 11-4. I want to say that's like 69%. Quick math off the top of the dome. But listen, we're in a good spot. I'm 57-34-2 on the year. You're 60-32-1. We're off to another good start with the Jags plus 2.5 for the week. We are right where we want to be. I mean, obviously, we want to get every single one of these games right, but between the two of us, we've had 2 not good weeks. I went 8-7-1 for my worst week. And Evo, your worst week is a 7-7. So no worse than 50% on any of our picks through any week this year. I think we'll fucking take that 10 times out of 10, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. This was potentially, you know, if we had gotten our I believe Monday night game correct with the Chargers, we would have been it would have been your best week this entire season, and it would have put me like right neck and neck with that week 1 for me. Like, it would have been an awesome fucking week. But either way, you can't argue 57-34-2 and 60-32-1. You're winning twice as many games as you're losing here. So that's pretty fucking good.
Pretty goddamn good. We're going to see if we can keep that rolling. So, brother, I'm ready whenever you are. Let's start getting into the games for this week.
All righty. So starting off, we have the game that everyone has been waiting for. We have the Raiders and the Bears.
Uncle Rico takes on fucking Johnny Utah as with the Bears roll into. Are they going to Vegas? Or are they going to Chicago?
It's in Chicago. It's Soldier Field.
Chicago. This is the worst fucking game in the history of the NFL getting ready to come up. Oh, sorry. I got to pull that down.
You're good. You're good. Yeah. So we have the Raiders and Bears being played at Soldier Field in Chicago. The line is currently Las Vegas -2.5. An over-under of, and this is the lowest over-under for this week, 37.5, according to ESPN and Caesars. Tyson Bagent going to be starting this week because Justin Fields got a little roughed up in that terrible game last week against the Vikings. It was terrible for both teams. It was embarrassing. And you're also going to be seeing either Brian Hoyer or Aiden O'Connell going out this week for the Raiders because Garoppolo looks like he is not going to be available.
I believe it is Hoyer that is scheduled to go right now.
Yeah, so most people have talked about Hoyer being the starter, and that's expected because the last time Hoyer went out, he looked pretty good. O'Connell made some comments, though, when asked about it, where it almost seems like he's expecting like he's going to get to go. And maybe that's him just having some positivity to him. Either way, O'Connell in his first outing didn't look absolutely terrible for a late round pick rookie. So it's not the worst thing. But we're still looking at a pretty rough game here. Two teams on the backup quarterbacks. Now, Badgett, the Bears fans really like him. He is a little bit more of a traditional passer, but he still has the legs to take off and run. He's got a really cool arm tattoo. So the fans love him.
Listen, Division II passing leader all time. So the kid can sling it, but Division II is a different ball game than what we're talking about the NFL. Normally it takes those guys, and this is his rookie year?
Yes.
Yeah, this is a different fucking ball game. Like you can see guys come from 1AA, Division II, a la a Joe Flacco or a Carson fucking Wentz, and they could be pretty successful for a while, but they don't necessarily have immediate success. Carson Wentz had some immediate success just because of the physical traits he possessed. So I'm a little worried for this kid, but luckily the Raiders are dog shit outside of Max Crosby. But Badgett needs to have his head on a swivel because Crosby will hit you at really any goddamn given time. He does not give a fuck when the whistle is blown.
Yeah, Crosby has the most pressures this year of any defensive end. Crosby's playing great. On defense, he's about the only thing that is really doing well. I'll say that their defense has looked better this past week or two, but they also have been playing some shitty teams. Apart from that, on the offensive side, you do have some good players there, like some really solid players. Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, you've got Jacoby Myers. You've got some options there on offense for whoever is playing quarterback. So for me in this game, I like the Raiders to win. I'm going to go Raiders money line. I would take the Raiders -2.5 here, except for I do expect this to kind of be just a nasty, low scoring game. So I'm not willing to give up any of those points because the Raiders might need them in order to get this win. Like it could be scrappy, low 14-16 type of game, like some stupid score. So I'm not willing to flirt with that too much. The Raiders should win this one, even with the game being there in Chicago. Yeah, that's pretty much it for me there.
Yeah, the Bears are the worst team in football. They got a rookie from Division II starting at quarterback. No matter how much I hate the Raiders should win this game. Raiders money line for me as well. And also, breaking news for anybody who did not get to see it, the fight between Islam Makhachev and Volkanovski is over. First round KO, head kick. Makhachev retains his title.
Wow.
Volkanovski goes down first round with a head kick. So I have not seen the picture, but apparently it is it's nasty. And Gaethje is already calling out Makhachev for next. So UFC is going. Well, I guess it just finished. That was the last fight of the night. We'll see how those things progress. A Gaethje Makhachev fight would be interesting to watch.
It's so weird that it's happening so early. Because for me,
Abu Dhabi, man.
Yeah, it is not even 2 p.m. here. So,
fuck, you guys are 3 hours behind right now, aren't you?
Yeah. That's I knew the fights were happening, but I hadn't really paid attention to it. I didn't know that they were going on until you had said something pre-show. I was like, oh, yeah, I ain't watching that.
Yeah, I had fully intended to watch those fights tonight after we got done with this because the Ohio State game was going to be over. And nope, it's happening right now. So good for you, UFC. Not too many people were able to pay legitimately for your services.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think everybody knew that the fights were at fucking 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yep. All right. Well, with that, we can move on to our next game here. We have the Bills versus the Patriots being played in Foxborough. The line currently is Buffalo -7.5 over under of 40. New England, they've been outscored by 73 points in their last 3 games. That's the worst 3-game margin by any team since 1972. This is the largest home dog spread for the Patriots since Tom Brady was there, 2001. All right. We're over 20 years since the Patriots have had this big of a spread at home as a dog. All right. Also, since week 4, Mac Jones, 0 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, averaging 153.3 yards per game passing. He's been absolutely terrible. He is the new Zach Wilson, like up there with worst quarterback in the league conversation. And on the flip side, the Bills are a pretty damn good team. They didn't look great last week. You had a pretty down week from Josh Allen, and they still were able to go out and get the win. I'm not willing to drop the 7.5 points for the Bills, but I'm going to take the Bills money line on this one. They should absolutely win this one. And the way that you've seen those Patriots just get their asses whooped each week, you think, oh, Belichick's going to do something to keep them kind of in it, and it just doesn't happen. That offense is just has no teeth whatsoever. No. Ramondre Stevenson isn't looking good. No quarterback play. You expect to get a little bit of something from the tight ends, maybe Gesicki or something. Nothing. It's just that you can't expect that offense to go out and score points other than maybe on a blown play. And that's you're not going to put up points when you're in an offense like that.
Yeah, they have no weapons. They haven't done anything. The Bills have been up and down, but they're so much better than this Patriots team. Their defense is not exactly where they'd like it. They still need pieces to get back on that defense. And Josh Allen needs to make smarter decisions. I see it. Fuck you, Torres. We're waiting for I'll wait for your call. We're going to talk about that game towards the end of our show. But for me, I don't see any reason to not drop the points. I mean, if we look at the things that the Patriots have done over the last few weeks, it has been absolutely fucking abysmal. I mean, they were able to kind of keep it close against a really shitty Raiders team, but they lose 34-0 against the Saints. They lose 38-3 against the fucking Cowboys. And the Bills are better than both of those teams. I'm dropping the 7.5. I'm taking Bills minus 7.5. They're so much better.
Yeah, and I don't blame you for that. I'm just going a little bit more conservative, safer bet here. All right. With that, we'll move on to our next game. We have the Washington Commanders versus the New York Football Giants being played in New Jersey. You have a line, Washington -3, over under of 37.5, which actually matches that Raiders-Bears game. It didn't match earlier in the day, but we are at 37.5. So another real low-scoring expected game here. You have the Commanders and Giants, the two most sacked teams in the NFL. Washington has 34 sacks against their quarterback. New York has 33. And I believe that they have less sacks than Washington because you had Tyrod Taylor out there last week and looking a little bit better, making the line look a little bit less shitty. The Giants have the second worst sack differential, -28 this year, of any team in the Super Bowl era through week 6. The worst was the 1969 Falcons, who had a -29 sack differential. We're looking at historic numbers here from these two teams and not good historic numbers at all. So if you're part of those fan bases, that's rough. It's even rougher if you're a quarterback for either of those teams. Washington, they're also 7-2 against the spread in their last 9 road games. Looking at these two teams, I believe Tyrod Taylor is going to be starting again. I'm not positive.
He should. And I was going to ask you before you make your pick, who should be the starting quarterback of this New York Giants football team?
It's kind of a difficult question for me because Tyrod Taylor looks to be better. He looks to be more talented out there, right? But he also looks very, and maybe this is just how he looks in the broadcast, it looks like he doesn't give a fuck if he's out there or not. Like, I've liked Tyrod through his career. I feel like when he went to the Chargers and had his lung poked out and had the starting job before handing it over to Herbert, which obviously we can see now Herbert is the guy. he should have been the starter. But after that whole situation, it feels like he just kind of was like, whatever with football. Like he's there to collect a paycheck. Even on the sidelines, he just kind of looked like just sitting there. Maybe it's because you're playing for a terrible team or something like that. I don't know. But he looks a little bit apathetic to be on the football field. I would like a little bit more of a emotional vocal leader as my quarterback. But in saying that, I look at Daniel Jones and he looks like a kid that is walking through a Halloween horror house every time that he has the helmet on. The most relaxed I've seen him was on the sidelines this last weekend with a hoodie and a clipboard and a hat on instead of those pads. He looked normal, like a normal dude, but you put the helmet on and the boy looks scared and confused as fuck. So that's not any better.
No.
In reality, I would ride with the hot hand if I'm the Giants. Like Daniel Jones isn't getting it done. Tyrod Taylor looked better. Giving Tyrod another full week of expectation of being a starter and stuff like that hopefully will fix some of the errors, because look, right before halftime you saw an error from Tyrod with the play calling, switched up a play to a run, ended up losing or running out of time, and you saw Dable getting into him walking in the locker room. That's a Dable problem. Like, he shouldn't be yelling at him. That's a coaching issue. All right, you can get the guy there to an extent, but don't put him in a situation when he's on a short week of not being expected to be the starting quarterback, things like that. Like, Dable shouldn't be getting mad at him. He should be talking to him, sure, and correcting him, but he's getting in his ass about it. And it's like, that's not the way to do it. Dable, this is more your fault than anything in that situation. I think that if they support Tyrod, they'll have a little bit more success there with that Giants team. I liked what I saw him. He looked a little bit better in the scramble drill than Daniel Jones does, being able to flow or throw off script. So that's me personally. I'd go with Tyrod. The contract situation doesn't matter to me because it was just an egregious, terrible contract to give Daniel Jones in the first place, and that doesn't mean that you should stick with it. You got to call a spade and move on when you can. Right now, Tyrod looks a little bit better.
I would do the same thing. If it's me, I'm taking Tyrod until Daniel Jones is fully healthy. Because if I can get Tyrod in there and I can get him to play decent football, if I'm Brian Daboll, that makes me look really good as a head coach. And then, you know what I'll do is I will send your boy back out there fully healthy, all the same things that we've been working on. He's going to have mental reps, and we're going to see if he can fucking play or not. Plain and simple. And then Daboll has done his due diligence on trying to make this team as competitive as they can possibly be. And if it doesn't work out, then you could point your finger and be like, you fucking morons should have never given him he's making $40 million a year?
Yes.
$40 million a year contract.
But it basically is only a 2-year contract from my understanding. It's got a lot more years on there, but basically the out is after 2 years. So I think they're kind of stuck with him next year as well. And then beyond that, they can move him no problem, I believe. Don't quote me on all that. But that's one of the things that was talked about is like everyone was like, how the fuck did
he swindle this contract?
It isn't a great contract for him long term. So kudos to that. I can't imagine that. No, I can't think. Joel Schoen, their GM. I can't imagine that he made this move in a vacuum. I would assume that he probably talked to Daboll and said, "Can you continue to develop this guy and turn him from a not so great quarterback like you did with Josh Allen into a really good quarterback like you did with Josh Allen?" And Daboll probably said yes to some extent. So again, I really like Daboll as a coach, but
same.
I think he's made some egregious errors in his evaluation of that quarterback and some of his other coaching situations.
Everybody's got an ego. Like, oh yeah, I can fix this kid. Some kids can't be fixed, man. You just got to know what a guy is. Like when somebody shows you who they fucking are, believe them. And that's not what happened with Daniel Jones. But hey, he's gonna get paid. Regardless, I do not like them in this game. I'll let you go ahead and give me your pick, and then I'll follow you.
All right. So for me, it's going to be the Commanders in this one. I can't. Did the line just change? Was it Commanders -2.5 when I first started talking?
Hold on.
Let
me look.
Now it's Commanders -3.
Let's see.
I might be playing mind games with myself there. I don't know. Either way, I'm taking the Commanders in this one. I'm also, again, not dropping the points here. I do think that they should win by 3, But with both these teams being as bad as they are, it could be a very close matchup. I'm going Washington Commanders money line on this one. The only X factor for me in this one is Saquon Barkley. He looked good last week. He looked good when they're feeding him the ball. And if the Commanders don't defend against him very well, he could really slash them. I just feel like the Giants kind of gave it their fucking all last weekend against that Bills team and brought it down to the end in a 14-9 game. And that's taxing. It is tough for them to come back even against a lesser team this week and put up that same sort of effort. So it's just Commanders for me.
All right. So we had some comments come in. Joe, appreciate it. I'll talk about it a little bit as we talk about your 49ers game and our game coming up. And then Mike, Volk got stunned, but apparently wasn't nearly as bad as the Usman Edwards. Either way, Volk is not a guy that we've seen get hurt too bad throughout his career. The fact that he got hurt, I'm going to have to go back and check that out. Whatever Bleacher Report is obviously upselling with their headline here, then this cold photo we'll check that out. Bleacher Report probably got me a little bit, catfished me just a little bit there. But,
hey, they got to do something to get clicks, right?
Hell yeah. So I'm going Commanders money line as well, man. They're better than the Giants. I'm not dropping points. If it was 2.5, I'd consider it, but 3 even, I'm not looking for another fucking push. I already got 2 of them on the year. I'm going to take Commanders money line. They're the better team. If Tyrod plays, I believe that this game will be closer. I have absolutely no faith in Daniel Jones anymore. Last year, I thought that maybe he was starting to figure out a rhythm on how to run this Daboll offense because he has the mobility that you see from a Josh Allen as well. He's not putting it together. It doesn't help. They don't have any fucking weapons.
He is like perfect for a West Coast system, in my opinion. Real short game management dump off passes. If he's protected, and if he's not protected, like maybe you can get some of that run. But he's just not good off schedule. Like he's not good off script. So I could see him like this ain't gonna happen, but he could have relative success in a San Francisco. Maybe some success if he was running a version of that West Coast with a Raiders or something like that. But I don't think with the type of passing game that Daboll runs that he is a good fit long term.
All right. Ready for the next one, brother?
Yes, sir. Next up, we have the Falcons and the Buccaneers being played in Tampa, Florida. Tampa's coming off of their bye week, I believe. No, they got throttled last week by the Lions. Sorry. Either way, this is being played down in Tampa. The line is currently Tampa Bay minus 2.5, over under of 37. God damn, that one is even a lower one. I swear to God.
The offensive have not been good in the NFL so far this season.
Yeah, but
so many turnovers.
The in my notes, I was like, the worst over under of the week is the Raiders and Bears, and now they're Raiders and Bears, and the Commanders and Giants have the same over under, and somehow that Bucks Falcons game has dropped even lower, which is fucking incredible. But
line's moving.
Desmond Ridder, he has never covered in the first half on a spread in his career. So if you're looking for that sort of a little bet,
nice little bet,
he's 0-10. All right. You had your bet with baseball this year, right? That hit every time. Almost every time. Maybe this is a football equivalency. First half spread, Desmond Ridder, fucking fade it because he's 0-10. But Ridder, this is also something that brought up last week and is continuing going forward. He's 0-4 straight up. And 1-3 against the spread on the road as a starter in his career with the Falcons. He's very good at home record-wise, but on the road is just not the case. Buccaneers minus 2.5 here on this one, and another low-scoring game is expected. And I kind of expect that to be the case. I'm going to go ahead and take Tampa Bay money line here. Again, 2 bad teams. When the over and under is dropping like this, maybe there's something I'm missing. But I don't like taking spreads of any sort when we have that low of an over under, because again, I might be missing something here. Buccaneers are a better team. Baker is a better looking quarterback than Desmond Ridder at this point. The only thing on the Falcons that really scares me is Bijan, and Bijan has looked more average the last couple of weeks, probably because most teams are focusing on stopping the run with Bijan. because that's about all they have. Falcons defense isn't too bad. They're average. They're okay. But I like the weapons that the Buccaneers have. I think that chip on Baker's shoulder playing out there in Tampa, he's going to want to get back on the horse after that loss last week. Buccaneers for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna trail you here. Buccaneers on the money line. I thought about going to 2.5, but it's tough, man, because this Falcons defense isn't bad. We saw the Bucs not look great last week, but Baker is prone to have fucking terrible games. Like, as somebody who rooted for Baker, I know that he will have terrible games every once in a while. Sometimes more often than not, depending on the season. But he typically finds a way to bounce back and play pretty decent in the next game. And I think that's all he's really going to have to do in this game. Also, like, you brought up the first half stat. I had no idea that's fucking crazy. But they're 0-5 against the spread in their last 5 as well. The Falcons are. So they're not covering. They're not doing anything. That almost got me to the Bucs minus the points, but I'm just going to go. They have so many more weapons. They know how to use their weapons. It seems like the only weapons that the Falcons really know how to use is Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. They still are not getting the run that they need from their passing game, from their wide receivers. So I'm gonna also chase you there and go Tampa on the money line.
All righty. Next up, we actually have kind of an interesting one. We had the Detroit Lions versus the Baltimore Ravens. So Lions are being widely called by a lot of people now the best team in the NFC, which I think it's a little bit premature to do that. Just because you have your 2 undefeated teams lose last week doesn't make them the best, but they are pretty fucking good. They are in that top 3 of the NFC, in my opinion. This game is being played in Baltimore. The line is Baltimore -3, over under of 43. This Lions team, they're 14-2 against the spread in their last 16 games. As an underdog, they have covered 15 of their last 20. All right. Ravens, they've actually only covered 2 of their last 11 games at home. And the Lions are seeking their first 6-1 or better start through 7 games since 1956. So, Dan Campbell is going to use everything he's got to motivate his team. He's going to say, hey, people are starting to talk about us. Filter that out. We need to do something for the city. We need to go get this record, prove that we are the best here in the NFC. And I like the Lions in this one. It's interesting. I would not have expected Baltimore to be favored here because I'm not as high on Baltimore.
This is disrespectful.
But most of the money out there right now is on the Lions plus the points. The Sharks, they bet Baltimore hard, real quick initially right now, which makes me question, why is Baltimore favored in this one? I'm kind of confused because I just don't see it. Baltimore's defense is good. Not great, but they're good. And their offense is meh, other than Zay Flowers. I mean, OBJ is terrible.
He is a shell of himself.
Their running game is not great. I don't know why Baltimore is favored in this one, which makes it seem obvious we should be taking Lions plus the points here, which I'm going to do. But it also sits here and makes me question, what am I missing? Why are the odds makers taking the Ravens in this one? And I don't have a good answer. I don't have a good answer for anyone right now. So
I don't understand why they're favored. It doesn't make any sense to me. This is disrespectful to the Lions and Dan Campbell. The Lions are 5-1 on the season against the spread. They are tied for the lead in that with the fucking Dolphins. They are one of the best teams against the spread in all of football since Dan Campbell has taken over. They are playing really good football right now, and the Ravens are not playing good football. I don't know if there is some matchup that we're missing, like you're saying, like where is the disconnect that we're missing? I'm not even going to take the Lions plus the points. The Lions are going to win this game fucking outright. They are the far superior team in this game, and I'm going to fucking treat them as such. I'm taking Lions money line because I'll get way better odds. I think I'm going to get plus 140 on that. So that sounds way better than a minus 110. I think that they are the far superior team as long as there are no major injuries that we are not tracking. I do not see how this line is this way.
The only thing that I am tracking is that David Montgomery is not going to be playing. Jameer Gibbs is going to be playing, and their backup running back with that is Craig Reynolds, I believe. But at the end of the day, the Lions are a very pass-heavy team. Goff has looked fantastic this year. Yeah, it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But even looking at ESPN's analytics assessment, 53.9% of the time they're expecting the Ravens to win this one for some reason. And I just don't get it. I mean, Detroit's defense has looked great. Their offense has looked great. I don't know where this line is coming from.
Unless they're expecting for Lamar to just take the game on his back and run all over. But I love Aiden Hutchinson and the way he rushes the passer, because he never finds himself out of position. It seems like if the quarterback steps up, he is able to bend back in. So I don't know. I don't see it. I completely am off of what Vegas is doing here, but I'm okay with going completely against Vegas. Vegas has fucking chandeliers and $1 million chandeliers in every single one of their casinos for a reason. They typically know what they're doing, but I think they're way off here. I'm not doing it. I'm not riding with them. Lions money line.
Yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. Steelers and Rams. Next game up, Inglewood, California. The line is Rams -3, over under of 44. Rams have looked like a better team this year. The Steelers are weird. They've gotten a couple wins that you wouldn't have expected, mostly on the shoulders of TJ Watt in that defense. Deontay Johnson is coming back this game. Deontay Johnson considered one of the more up-and-coming wide receivers in the NFL to some people in some circles. Interesting fact I found out, Deontay Johnson hasn't scored a receiving touchdown, since 2021.
Jesus Christ.
Something like 18 games, which points to him not being great, but it probably points to that quarterback situation not being the best either. Look, like what we say, the line is -3. Road dogs, the 3 points or less this year, are 19, 8-1 against the spread in the last 28 games. The Steelers themselves are 14, 3-1 against the spread as a dog of 3 or less points in their last 18 games. And the Steelers have won 6 straight coming off of the bye. They are 12-4 coming off of a bye with Mike Tomlin as the head coach. The Steelers are coming off of their bye. They are traveling as a road dog to the Rams. Yes, the Rams have looked good. I like the Rams in this game, but I'm going to stick with my stats here. I'm going to take the Steelers plus the points. I hate this bet. I will say it right now. I hate this game because I want to pick the Rams, and everything's telling me to go with what Tomlin's history is. Take the Steelers. Quit trying to overthink it. I hate this Steelers team. I hate Matt Canada. I hate Najee Harris. I do not like Kenny Pickett. But I'm going to take the Steelers +3, and I don't like it.
Yeah. So if you want something to make you feel better about that bet that you just made, Kyron Williams out. He's going to the IR. He's going to be out for a little while. Their running back room is kind of going to be a hodgepodge of a bunch of dudes that are barely Jags, and then a guy that they're familiar with, and Darrell Henderson. But I don't know how much he really has left in the tank.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This is the thing, though, with the Rams, is that they're used to kind of that conglomerate backfield. Exactly. Darrell Henderson, having played there before, will work out for them to an extent. I'm pretty sure that they signed Myles Gaskin to their practice squad and then elevated him to the active roster. He's shown to be one of those good rotational guys. Like, they have some good rotational pieces there. They can probably make do with that. So it doesn't concern me too much, though. I will say Kyron Williams has far exceeded everyone's expectations this year. He's looked fantastic. It's a big loss for them for him going to the IR.
Yeah, it sucks, especially if you had him in fantasy. I did not, but that pushes you towards the Steelers side. But I can't do it, man. I absolutely can't. I know that this team is not that good, but they're always coached up, right? Like, Mike Tomlin is an absolute stud. Might be the best coach in the NFL right now for how much he gets out of the lack of talent that is actually on that team, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But that's where I'm worried. Matt Canada hasn't been fired yet, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I'm taking the fucking Rams on the money line. I'm not dropping any points. Matt Canada's calling the offense. They got to travel all the way out to LA. I'm going to take the Rams. I know there's a ton of stats, and I know from history as a fucking Browns fan that the Steelers always figure out a way to come to play, especially coming off a bye week. Their offense is abysmal. It's so fucking infuriating to watch. I don't know how Steelers fans are continuing to do it. There were guys yesterday on the Pat McAfee show screaming "Fire Canada" like during just a regular show in Columbus, Ohio.
Yes,
because that's where they had game day this morning. There were people down there again shouting "Fire Canada" during game day. And it's all across the country. Any Steelers fan, they want him gone, but it's not happened. Not everybody is wrong. It's so bad. Rams money line done. At a certain point, they're going to make this change. I just don't know when it's going to be.
Yeah, maybe it is a Pittsburgh thing. You know how they don't fire head coaches. Maybe this is more of a push from ownership saying like, hey, you're kind of stuck with him for the rest of the year. We'll move on after the season, but they don't like shakeups or something. I don't know. Either way, it is pretty abysmal. Next game, Cardinals and Seahawks being played out at Lumen Field, Seattle, Washington. The line is currently Seattle -8, over under of 45.5. This is the first time the Seahawks have actually been favored by more than 7 points since the Russell Wilson trade. Seahawks are a better team here. Over under of 44.5. I could actually see that happening because the Cardinals have played better than we all expected. Though last week and the past 2 weeks, really, we've started to see a little bit more of backup Josh Dobbs and a little bit more of what we expect. Take a dive. Yeah, what we expect from this team. Look, Arizona is 1-9 straight up and against the spread in their last 10 divisional games. And the Cards have lost 3 straight by 14 or more points. That does lead you to believe that Seattle should be able to put up a win by 8 points or more. The question mark for me is that last week Seattle lost one to Cincinnati. Seattle had a bunch of red zone trips that they walked away with no points. And I definitely felt that with Geno Smith as my starting quarterback in fantasy last week. They have to figure that out. The Seahawks have a chance to really throttle the Cardinals here. But because it's divisional, I feel like that actually might make it a closer game. And just because the Cardinals have been scrappy, I'm not going to take the Cardinals plus the points here. I'm going to take the Seahawks money line because it's a divisional game. And I need to see the Seahawks rebound from last week where they just left so many points out there on the field.
All right. So I am actually going to go with the Cardinals plus the points in this game because they have been so scrappy. I understand that we're starting to see backup Josh Dobbs. No team in the NFL, no players in the NFL are going to go out there and purposely tank. Because if you do, you're not going to be on that squad next year anyway. So that number 1 overall pick, you probably won't even be there to see how that works out. And you're not going to be back to help that team rebuild. So they're not going to tank. They play everybody very tough divisional game. Sure, they're 1-9, but like Seahawks, I really thought that Geno was going to kind of continue to roll. He has taken a step back from the Geno that we saw last year. He's not the surprise of the entire NFL, the comeback player of the year, Geno Smith. There's definitely been a step back. They should win this game, but a divisional game, regardless of who the 2 divisional opponents are almost always played tight to within a touchdown. So because it's an 8-point spread, I'm going to take the Cardinals for the better odds. Cardinals plus 8 for me.
All righty. Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers versus the Denver Broncos being played Mile High, Denver, Colorado. The line is Green Bay -1. Over under a 45. Green Bay is coming off of a bye week here. Denver, depending on which betting site you go off of, they've not covered yet this season a single time. Green Bay is 6-2 straight up and against the spread in their last 8 games versus Denver. And the last time that Vance Joseph, and this is what I really need to talk about, is the Broncos team, the offense actually isn't as the problem this year. Russ, while he is not good, he's not really been the problem this year. He had a bad week last week, but overall in the season, it hasn't been the offense so much, and it hasn't been Russ Wilson being the problem. It has been that defense for Denver. And we've seen them start to shed players already, right? Frank Clark gone,
Randy
Gregory. There's been heavy rumors about Pat Surtain being on the trade block, potentially for a first and some compensation, possibly 2 firsts if to a really needy team. Vance Joseph, who we've talked about, I have felt like he's a pretty good coach. And I'm going to eat a little bit of crow here because I think I'm going basically on name recognition at this point. Looking at it, he hasn't had a top 10 defense since 2016 when he was with the Broncos. That surprised the shit out of me. You have other heavy rumors floating around about, hey, they might cut Vance Joseph and go with the other guy they were interviewing, Rex Ryan. They might pull him out of the broadcasting booth and bring Rex Ryan in because Rex Ryan has been going at the Broncos and Vance Joseph on TV lately.
Rex is pissed that he didn't get the fucking job. Rex wants that job.
Yes. So I think that actually might happen. This is kind of a feel it out year for Sean Payton, where he is able to shake things up a little bit. If you're going to make your moves, you might as well make it now and see if Rex Ryan's got a little bit of gas left in the tank, and if you want to roll with him going into next season or not. Because Vance Joseph obviously isn't working out. The defense has really been what's been killing the Broncos here. Now, when it comes to this game, last time, faded the Packers. They fucked me. I need to fade the Packers.
Last time you took the Packers.
Took the Packers, and they fucked me. I'm not going to let that happen again directly. So if anyone's going to fuck me, it's going to be that horse cock from the Bronco. I'm going to take Denver plus the 1, which is basically a toss-up. But if I can get a point, fuck it, I'll take it. Packers probably should win this game, especially coming off of a bye. They're getting healthier. Maybe Jordan Love just can't throw in high altitudes. He can't throw anywhere else. So Denver plus the point. I hate this game as well. I wouldn't put money on it personally.
I was going to ask you, because your lady, big Denver Bronco fan. You guys going to have this on the big screen at the house? Fucking Packers and Broncos, just a dog shit game of the week?
Maybe. We'll see.
This game is awful. I don't want to watch this game. I don't want anything to do with this game, but I have to pick this game. The Broncos have been abysmal. Their defense is terrible. The only thing that is going to make the difference in this game, in my opinion, Aaron Jones should be healthy playing in this game. There's not going to be nearly as much pressure on Jordan Love to throw the fucking ball around. Packers, money line. Neither one of these teams should win. I would not be surprised if it ended in a fucking 0-0
tie. There'll be some mistakes that'll lead to points probably because these
3 points will be on 3-0 or fucking 2-0.
Yeah, 2-3.
2-0. There we go.
2-3. A safety and a field goal.
Yeah.
All right, that takes us to our next game, one that hopefully will be a little bit better. We got the Chargers and the Chiefs going out in Kansas City, Arrowhead. The line is currently Kansas City -5.5, over under 48. This is the Chargers team that fucked us last week. That they had the opportunities there to stay competent with the Cowboys, and
then didn't because they made some interesting decisions again. Not bad. They were interesting.
Yeah, it was the Chargers shooting themselves again. I'll say that, look, like the Chargers offense should be really, really good. Losing Mike Williams has really changed the passing dynamic of that team.
Quentin Johnson was supposed to be the guy that's going to take over for him, though. And I know you and I both were not Quentin Johnson people before the season started.
Yeah, I was very shaky on Quentin Johnson. Now you have Josh Palmer kind of stepping into that role. Josh Palmer is a number 3 or 4, really. He's not the type of guy that you want to be your number 2 receiver out there. We also saw some drops and some bad play from their tight end, who I can't Everett, I believe.
Everett, yeah.
Which is a little bit more uncharacteristic. You would expect him to be doing a lot better this year as a sole tight end catching an option out there. But in reality, the biggest thing for me is the lack of use of Austin Eckler. Eckler looked really good in that first quarter, especially catching some screen passes, taking it the distance, and it seems like they started to go away from that. Eckler is one of those more of a receiving running back than a running style running back. Not to say that he can't run the ball well. It's a lot of times you have to, like, you know how teams will set up the play action pass by running the ball, and then play action, throw the ball. It's kind of the opposite with Eckler. You got to really get him open in the flats in that screen game. And once he has that, that's when he starts gashing you running the ball at the middle. And they didn't do that. Like, the screen game was working in that first quarter, and then they went away from it. They just didn't stick with it. Eckler is probably, next to
CMC?
Keenan Allen. Keenan on this team. Eckler and Keenan Allen are the two biggest offensive weapons outside of the quarterback there. And realistically, the game plan should flow through Eckler, and they didn't do it. And maybe that's him coming off of the injury, but he seemed, very sure about playing. He didn't seem like the injury hindered him while he was playing. So that's a bit concerning to me. Maybe that's a Kellen Moore issue and not game planning him enough in there.
God, and that offense on that first drive looked so good. Kellen Moore was pumped. I was like, okay, fuck, here we go. Chargers are going to roll. They look like they were working.
Yeah.
And they just didn't. I don't get it. They're so fucking hard to determine what this team is, because we talk about it every week. They have a ton of fucking pieces. They are very, very talented, but it always seems like there's a bonehead decision that gets made. Now, I'm not saying that it was a bonehead decision that cost them the game against the Cowboys, right? But it almost seems like they never take their points when they should absolutely take their fucking points. Like, I understand you want 7 instead of 3. Situation can dictate at times that you go for it, but they leave too many points off the board because they go for it when they could easily have points. They need to find a way to marry analytics with smart, sound football decisions.
Yes.
And they have not done that, and they're still not doing that. Man, if I'm a Chargers fan, like, we've been calling for Staley's head probably since game 3 of this year, if not maybe even a little sooner.
It was
like, he was going to
last
be in the
year for
hot
me, man.
seat. Like, the decisions are so asinine. And I can understand in certain situations why you go for the 7 instead of the 3. It makes sense. But it always seems like he makes that decision at the inopportune time. Like, let's get momentum. Let's take a lead. And then we'll worry about maybe going for 7 points later in the game when we have 3 in our back pocket. Like, I just don't get it. And then you get the Chiefs, who are an interesting team as well. They have Travis Kelce, who is all world, and that's about the only guy on their fucking offense who is really having a decent run. They get Mecole Hardman back, but he's not going to be a factor this week, probably at all.
Probably not. They're inconsistent as to who else is going to be contributing on that offense. Like the Chiefs, 8 of their last 10 games have the over going under 48.5 points, which isn't what you would expect from a high-powered offense who's going out there and slinging all the time. This is not like that Buffalo Bills Chiefs team a couple years ago where in the playoffs it was almost like the Super Bowl watching them play. You're not going to see that because they don't have the explosivity that they had when Tyreek was there. And Kansas City's a team that really just does not give a fuck about your spread. Like, they play these games close. They don't throttle anyone. They win, but they're not doing it with like a commanding presence type thing. Divisional unders in general this year are generally a good bet. They've been hitting 59% in the last 32 matchups. So not just this year, but overall. And then Chiefs are the only team in the NFL not to give up more than 21 points in a game this season. So their defense is actually performing relatively well versus this Chargers offense that is a question mark, really.
Up and down.
They could be really good, and then some weeks
they could score 40 or they could score 17.
Yeah. But the Chargers are 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 games versus Kansas City. Justin Herbert has only had 2 wins against the Chiefs, and only one of those was against Patrick Mahomes. So he doesn't have his best time against Patrick Mahomes. But then again, who does? So this game being Kansas City minus 5.5, I could see this being a relatively close game. I'm actually going to take the Chargers plus the points here. I don't feel great about it. The safe bet is Chiefs money line if you want to do that. Hopefully they'll turn something around and keep it relatively close. And really, I'm hoping that they start to focus a lot more on Eckler, getting him involved out there.
Yeah. So, like, the Chiefs don't blow anybody away, but I've already made a couple of picks. This, like, I'm going a little extra on the limit, so I am taking the safe pick here. The Chiefs on the money line. I think that they are the better team. I think they're a more well coached team. The Chiefs are not going to shoot themselves in the foot with bad decision making. Like, if this is a close game, I expect Andy Reid to come out on top. And I think this will be a close game because it is a divisional matchup. So I'm going to go Chiefs money line.
Yeah. And I'll probably kick myself for not doing that, honestly. All right. That takes us to Sunday night. We have what should be a good Sunday night game. We have the Dolphins and the Eagles being played out there in Philly. Line is currently Philly -3, over under of 51.5 here. Eagles going to be playing in Kelly Green. So that has to give them at least 2 of those 3 points that they're being favored by. Philly also has hit 5 of their 6 last primetime games, the over in those Philly games. So that's actually for primetime games. It sounds a little bit better. Like we're going to have a little bit more of a high scoring affair. So that's cool. Look, Dolphins are rock stars on offense. Eagles are a solid team record wise. I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah. So that's the way I feel about this game is like, okay, so on paper, when you look at their records, this should be a really good game. But the Eagles team that we saw last year is not the Eagles team that we have seen at any point yet this year. Their defense has not played at a supremely high level, even though a couple guys have really popped off the tape. And their offense has not been good at all, with the exception of a couple times where A.J. Brown goes off in a game, which has been fantastic for me because I can have him in fantasy. But I don't think at any point we have seen this Miami team really have a lot of fluctuations in who they really are. Like every week, we're basically seeing this Miami team for who they are. They're an offensive juggernaut. They're going to give up some points. They're going to give up some big plays. As long as they don't lose the turnover battle, Miami is a damn good team. I am only thinking that the Eagles have the edge in this, like points wise for the spread, because they're playing at home. Right now, I think Miami is a far better looking team from everything that we have seen. They're going to need A.J. Brown and, probably DeAndre Swift, who had a great run early in the season and has not done a lot in the last couple games. Like the Eagles are going to need something from that group. I love the Dolphins in this game, and I'm not even going to deal with points. I'm taking Miami outright on the money line for the better odds because they're the dog. I think right now, the way everything looks, they look like the more consistent team over everything else.
Yeah, this is actually a tough one for me because I really like this Dolphins team. I do as well. Like I like, McDaniel. I like the way their offense is running. I like that Mostert has looked good. All that stuff. I think that this is going to come down to the trenches, and this is the first time that we could see Tua really get knocked around. I mean, that Eagles defensive line is awesome. The Dolphins offensive line has been good, but they haven't had as much of a test as you would expect yet this year. And I'm going to end up taking the Eagles money line here. I don't really like it. I feel like this is one of those where Vegas knows that people really like this Dolphins team. And if they're getting points, people are just going to jump at it. But this game could be a lot closer than we're expecting. Yeah, it's tough for me, man, because I do really like this Dolphins team. It makes me want to take the Dolphins plus the points, even though I think that they could win outright. But I'm going to go against my better judgment here. I'm going to take the Eagles money line to win this one. I'm not going to drop the points.
Eagles,
I'll take the money line. Okay. Yeah, they're coming also. They've got a lot of injured players coming back this week, and they're coming off of obviously their first loss last week. I think that they're going to be fired up to get back on the horse after that one, which is kind of a scary thing as well if they're actually able to do it.
Yeah, if you were going to do points in this game, I would recommend going with the Dolphins in the points, just because 5-1 on the year against the spread, tied for the lead, as we talked about earlier in the show. So, but I mean, this is going to be a good, we might see a legit, like, good quality offense, good quality defense, fucking prime time game. Because I don't think we've had one of those yet. We watched a game on Thursday that was close in the score, but it wasn't a good fucking game. So this might be it, because this is our Sunday night. So this has potential game of the week. It'll be fun, hopefully, to see the way this. Oh, that is not what I wanted to click on. It'll be fun to see the way this thing turns out.
Yep. All right. We'll jump back a little bit in time to Sunday morning here and check out your Browns versus the Colts being played in Indianapolis. The line is currently Cleveland -3.5, over under of 41. Anthony Richardson done for the year, getting surgery on that shoulder. It's Gardner Minshew's time there in Indianapolis. They are expecting to start giving a much larger workload to Jonathan Taylor. We started to see a little bit of that last week, a lot more even split of the time. But realistically, this is a Colts team that is kind of looking like who they were last year now, because they don't have that electric pop on offense that you get from Anthony Richardson. Steichen is a better coaching situation than they had last year, which is nice for them, but still not a huge fan of this Colts team right now. And your Brownies coming off of
massive upset of the year, fucking wild win. The stadium was so loud. It felt like a goddamn bomb went off in the fucking stadium when he missed that kick. I was sitting on the opposite end zone side when he missed the kick, but it was just absolutely insane. And Joe Rockstar, excellent game. Go ahead, brother.
I was in the truck with Hannah listening to the game, and I was like, holy shit, they might win this one. And then 49ers drove down. They got close in the field goal range. I was like, well, you know what? Mike should still be happy. Like, this game was way closer than it ever should have been. Like, if you take a loss here, it's a loss you can be happy with. And then we hear you miss a kicks, and I'm just, no fucking way. No fucking way. I was like, looking at her, I was like, I bet you Mike is losing his absolute shit right now. That place is probably rocking. She's like, is it that big of a deal? I was like, it's that big of a deal. And then we saw, your Facebook Live video where you're losing it and stuff like that. She's like, oh my God. Like, yeah, it's a big deal.
Oh, dude. And it was fucking insane in the stadium. It was insane outside. And you can hear in the video, along with me screaming, the wind outside the stadium. So at that point, I'm outside the stadium. But that wind whips through, because they were kicking that field goal towards the north end of the stadium. The north end being right butted up against the lake. Also, right through there, there's a couple of cutouts on either side. And the wind is fucking brutal in there. There's an extra flag that sits underneath the American flag, not on the goalposts. It's the Phil Dawson flag. He asked for an extra flag to be installed in the stadium so he could get a true read of the wind, because when the wind whips through that north end, it swirls like a motherfucker. The flags, if you go back and watch, the flags are dead on the fucking goalposts. That flag was pinned to the fucking right, though, that Phil Dawson flag. So if you're not familiar with that, being from Cleveland, that's I don't know if I want to tell everybody else about that, but that's a thing. It was wild. It was great. I was super, super pumped. And this week is going to be a little bit of an emotional letdown. I expect this team to come out and win. The Browns are going to win this game because our defense is spectacular, and the Colts don't have that dynamic guy that really threatens our defense anymore. Like, we dropped a couple games. We lose one to, the Steelers because we lose Nick Chubb. That is an emotional, absolute fucking, letdown. It's like you got a 45-pound plate sitting on your chest the entire game. That's how much air was taken out of the stadium. And then we drop a game to the Ravens because they have a spectacular athlete at the quarterback position. The Colts don't have that anymore. Jonathan Taylor sure is going to be in the mix, but this Browns team, I don't know if you've been tracking, have allowed the fewest yards of any team in the last 50 fucking years. It's insane how good they are on defense. We were able to shut down CMC, force Brock Purdy into some bad situations. Weather will obviously not be a factor because we are playing in Indianapolis inside of the dome, but this defense is buzzing. There's conversations every goddamn day on Twitter about what we're going to nickname the Browns defense. It should be called the Cleveland Browns fucking defense. I don't understand why there needs to be a nickname like the Legion of Boom or whatever.
Because it's fun.
Yeah, but what name are you going to call them? We already have the dog pen. There's so many other things. We have Brownie the Elf. We have the new fucking Darth Vader looking dog. Like, we have so many things. Let's just enjoy what we have and be the Cleveland Browns defense, who is one of the best teams, the best defenses that we have seen in the last fucking half century.
Now, speaking of the Cleveland's Brown defense and how good they are, you have a new addition behind you.
I sure do. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm going to pull it up. Go ahead.
All right. So for me in this game, I do think the Browns are a better team here. My question for Mike here is going to be, who's playing quarterback? And how big of a difference is that going to make? Because PJ Walker played last week, and I wouldn't say that he had a good day statistically. And who would you feel better with going out there as a starter?
PJ Walker should start this game. If Deshaun Watson is not 100%, he should not play. Plain and simple, because that I don't want any other excuses about, well, his shoulder wasn't quite right, all that. If we get PJ Walker first team reps throughout the week, which we did, even though Deshaun got some first team reps at the end of the week of practice, he should play. Deshaun is not 100%. He's $230 million investment, even though it's an investment I do not agree with. He is our $230 million quarterback. We need to fucking protect him.
So it is still up in the air.
It has not been determined who is playing quarterback. We actually have a call coming in. Our boy, Joe Rockstar.
All righty.
Oh, let's plug that in real quick.
1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Joe Rockstar, you are on with the Lineman Lounge. Can you hear us, brother? Let's see here.
I can't hear shit.
I can't hear shit either. Joe, can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you.
Now you hear me. Hang on, Joe. I'm going to figure this the fuck out. It dipped up last week, too. Joe, can you hear me? Where is the Joseph? All right. Why the fuck does this thing sometimes work and sometimes not? I don't get it. Hold on. Oh, nope. Figured it out. Joe, just wait. I'm coming back. The technology escapes me from time to time. Joe Rockstar, can you hear us? There it is. Joe.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yes. Hey, can you hear us?
Oh, yes, I can.
Hey, there we go. You're on with the Lineman Lounge. What's up, brother? How we doing?
Nice. So I wanted to say first, congratulations. Good,
Thank you.
good win. I'm sure that was wild that you were there. That's so cool. I don't want to take anything away from the Browns defense, but I gotta say, dude, there's a lot of ways we could have won that game. It just didn't. You know what I mean?
I absolutely agree. You guys had multiple opportunities, including right there at the end with the field goal.
Yeah, a lot of Niner fans are blaming it on the kick. They're all mad at the kicker, but there was a lot of missed opportunities there. And that officiating in that game was horrible, but I feel like that went both ways, so I'm not complaining about that contributing to the loss. It was just a fucking sloppy-ass game.
Yeah, it absolutely was a very, very sloppy game. The weather was a factor. We saw Brock, I believe, twice ball slips out of his hands throughout the game. One of them ended up, ending in a turnover. So yeah, it was sloppy. It was ugly. We were able to do what we needed to do on defense, and PJ Walker was just barely good enough with a couple nice little help outs from the referees, because it was not a great refereed game. I'm not going to sit here and say that we didn't get some help. It was a very poorly officiated game.
I saw a lot of holding on the Niners that wasn't called, so that's why I'm not pulling that shit, talking about refs. But I mean, I'm talking about refs, but it was just bad for both fucking sides. You can't figure out what you can and can't get away with. You can't figure out, what you should and shouldn't do because they're being inconsistent and stupid. But I'm looking forward to a great bounce back game against your partner's team there. You guys get us back to back. How great is that?
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Now, Joe, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. This is
Okay,
great.
cool.
First time
So
I've done
my question is, a lot of people are saying that once you have some of those big offensive weapons go down, Debo, McCaffrey, Trent Williams, that it made Brock Purdy look like a subpar quarterback, and actually showed what his true colors are. Now, me personally, I understand quarterbacks are allowed to have bad games and it doesn't define who they are. But has it changed your opinion at all on Brock Purdy, thinking like, hey, if he doesn't have the weapons around him, that maybe he actually is a subpar quarterback? From a Niners fan who, of course, we know isn't, you're not drinking the Kool-Aid. You never do.
I'm not the typical Niner fan, and I say no. I would say that this is a lot more about the Browns' defense. They played really, really well. They took everything away from the Niners that they do well. Brock is not he's not trained to just go out there and make up the game as he goes along. He's doing what he's supposed to do, as best he can. And when that stuff isn't working because Kyle didn't scheme well enough or the Browns are just playing excellent either way, I don't really want to put that all on Brock, especially when he got him down there in field goal range. He did what he had to do when the time counted, and I think Kyle kind of pushed out on. He said something about, I didn't want to take another down because we might have had a muff snap or something, and I was like, you had to snap it to spike it, buddy. So that's a stupid excuse, But whatever, it went the way it went, and I think that's more of a credit to the Browns than it is, something against Brock Purdy and the Niners.
Yeah. So as somebody who was in the stadium out there in kind of the weather and the elements, it was going to be tough for any quarterback to play well in those conditions, considering the rain, the how much the wind was actually kicking around inside that stadium. It was going to cause problems, and then you lose Pro Bowlers. Yeah, obviously it's going to fucking hurt. I don't know why people are like, oh, well, Brock Purdy is only this thing because of these guys. There's a lot of fucking quarterbacks in the NFL that have excellent weapons that make them look better.
I got a pretty good theory on that, bro. I got a theory on that. The Niners fan base is pretty vocal and they engage a lot. So the more that you antagonize them, the more engagement you get on TV or on the internet or whatever it is. So it's easy to get their goat and get them going and getting those clicks that you need to sell, whatever it is that you're selling. So I think that's why they talk about stuff like that. They're just it's that hyperbole shit that you always get, with the media. Fans are just silly,
Yeah.
There's a lot of casual fans, and it's just that's the way it is, and they're going to overreact to this thing. But Brock Purdy, I mean, how many games did he win? How many interceptions did he throw, and how many touchdowns? I mean, let's be real here. And just historically, I don't know if you've seen the stat, but there's a historical stat out there about Joe Montana had the same game against the Browns in our last Super Bowl run with him. He was playing lights out, beat the Cowboys with like a 40 burger, and then played the Browns and lost like 12-17 or something like that. And we're talking about Joe Montana. He had 2 picks and whatever crazy shit happened. Any quarterback can have a bad day. When you're looking at his body of work, and I know it's small, he's played really, really well. So I'm not ready to, pull the plug on the kid yet. And I think it's silly for anybody to be talking like that.
I absolutely agree, man. He has been a savior for you guys, considering the giant mistake that was the Trey Lance. So people are like calling for his head. He's obviously not that dude. He doesn't have to be a fucking world beater. He doesn't have to be Pat Mahomes. Every once in a while, he's going to have a game where he doesn't play well. Fucking Pat Mahomes has had him. Josh Allen just had one. Like those, not everybody's going to be their best every day. Because if you're your fucking best every day, that's no longer your best. That's your goddamn normal. So I don't understand this whole false equivalency. Like you have to be up here every single time. That's not the fucking way life works. You can't be your best every time.
it's not backyard football and it's not flag football, and you're not making up shit as you go along. And if your quarterback can pull you through and do that for you, that's great. But I mean, the reality is, it's professional football. When they say the thing like system quarterback, that doesn't have any real meaning. Every quarterback plays within a system. It's professional football. They're not going out there on the field and say, hey, let's just, run to the fucking corner and then run to that car over there and then cut in and I'll throw you the ball. That is not how that goes. There's a system. There's a plan. They go into the game. They try to run the plan. And you've got a guy who runs the plan really, really well that the coach designs for him. You can't just call him a system quarterback. He's doing what any quarterback should be doing with his team, running the plays that the coach is calling. Doesn't make any sense.
I agree.
Well, Joe, while we have you here, our next game that we're going to be talking about is the Monday Night Football game, 49ers versus the Vikings, and San Francisco is favored in Minneapolis by 7 points. Now, as of 30 minutes ago, Schefter announced that McCaffrey practiced today for the first time this week, and he is listed as questionable. Trent Williams listed as doubtful for the game, and I did not see anything about Debo yet. So some of the bigger playmakers and important offensive pieces for that 49ers team may or may not be there for the game. Do you think that it matters, and how do you think that this game is going to go? Obviously, you say you think that they're going to get back on the horse here against my Vikings. What's your analysis of what's going to happen this week?
Well, it always matters. It's a team sport, right? So if you're missing any piece of that machinery, it matters, right? You can't put the whole game on one player. And when you've got, missing pieces to the machine, there's going to be some troubles, right? As far as like how I think they'll do, I really, I kind of suck this year about paying attention to what all the other teams have been doing. It's just been really busy the last few weeks. I don't know how your defensive line looks. But Aaron Banks, I think, is going to be filling in for Trent Williams. Not sure. Can't remember who it is. Young guy, he doesn't have a lot of experience. We'll see how that goes. But that left side's going to be soft. The right side's already soft. So it's going to be tough to run on you guys. I think even if Matt McCaffrey's ready to play, he doesn't. And I'm not sure how Kyle will handle that. We'll see. Obviously, I bet on him not being there because I put Mitchell in my lineup for fantasy.
Yeah.
But I think we can still win it. And not only, and I don't mean, I'm not trying to talk bad about the Vikings, but you guys had struggles this year.
Sure.
So I'm hoping that we can just keep it close the whole game and be ahead when the time runs out.
All righty.
All right,
so,
Joe.
I'm not looking at a blowout or anything like that.
It might be.
Well,
We'll see.
We'll get into it.
I don't know who to put in, Cousins or Birdie.
Not Cousins.
Purdy this week for sure.
Yeah, I got him in. All right, guys. Thanks for letting me chat at you and take some of your time. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, brother. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, take care.
That was Joe Rockstar. We actually had Sexy Taurus Shotguns call while that was going on, but since I don't have a switcher and I can't have multiple lines, Torres is going to have to call back. So as soon as he does that, we'll get him in, and there he is right there.
All righty.
Torres, I appreciate you watching the show as fervently as you do. Brother, what is going on? I appreciate you. I saw your comment earlier. Colts are going down, and you can lick my asshole. How you doing?
I'm well. How are they going down?
We are going to beat the shit out of you guys.
What position do you play?
What position do I play? I play the fan.
The fan. Oh, got it. Because you said we.
Left out. Yeah. I don't know if you saw, but I got this fucking badass autographed football from Grant Delpit. I'm basically like a part of the team.
Got it. Yeah. So no, I think the Colts are going to do some defense. I think you guys are going to make a couple of mistakes, and the Colts are going to win.
You guys are going to do some defense, and then you guys are going to win.
Yeah, exactly like
That's
that.
some great analysis.
Yeah, I love that analysis.
Yeah, 100%. It was like professional.
All right.
Also, we're in
Torres.
Tucson and drinking, so yes.
This defense, who's going to be the main defender on your team doing this defense? Specifically, who has been the best defensive player on your defense this year?
That one guy. Yeah. That one guy.
That one guy. Do you have a position that
EJ
one
Speed.
guy plays?
EJ Speed.
Ooh.
What? I love that name. What was the name again? One more time?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Screw you. I've been drinking, all right?
No,
I'm in
no.
Tucson. I've been.
Hey, let it rip, buddy. Let it rip.
I'm just trying to figure out, do you know any of the names of defenders on your team?
Yes, and he hasn't actually been playing. Darius Leonard, Shaq Leonard.
Shaq Leonard.
Yeah.
So if you had to pick the player on your team who plays the same position that has been one of the best in the NFL, would you be able to name him? Not the same position at all.
Not the same position.
Damn it.
Number 44.
I'm like 100%. I'm 100% like regretting calling in right now. And
don't. We'll give you a break here. So your defense has not been great all year, but you have had a guy who has been a standout, Evo.
Zaire Franklin, number 44,
Okay.
7th round pick in
Okay.
2018 for the Colts. He has been a stud.
Stud. Well, yeah, that guy. That's what I said when I said that guy.
We knew that's who you were talking about.
Juice Robinson or whatever the fuck it was that came out of your mouth before.
Speed McClinsky.
Yeah. Listen, man, I think it'll be an interesting game. I am interested to see how the offense works and how you kind of reintroduce Jonathan Taylor into that offense while keeping Zach Moss as part of that, because he's been really good for you guys. But the fact that you lost your stud rookie quarterback really doesn't play to your favor at all. But I agree with the decision to have the season-ending surgery and sit him down.
Yeah.
There were moments where he looks really good, but there's also times where he's not quite ready. And if he's hurt and a rookie, you don't send him out there when he's not quite ready and banged up. Like, get him healthy. Sure, punting on this season sucks for you guys because it feels like what you've been doing for the last couple of years. But this is going to allow you to go out, hopefully improve your team later on. And you guys should be able to come back and hopefully be a competitive team. But this year is not that year. And your offense right now, with the lack of weapons against this Cleveland Browns defense, does not spell a lot of success coming your way, in my opinion.
Okay, let's make a wager then.
Okay, what you want?
You'll have to post a video, or I'll have to post a video of whatever team loses. So if the Colts win, you have to take a shot or chug a beer and then post it to Lineman Lounge. And if the Colts lose, your choice, take a shot or chug a beer.
Okay, I like that, but we got to take it up a notch. We need to be wearing a piece of team gear from the other squad. So if the Browns win, you have to have some Browns gear on while you do said beer chug. And if the Colts win, I will do said chug with some Colts gear on as an extra little element to show who won and who lost.
0.01% of the nation owns Browns gear.
I know. So
where am I supposed to find it?
You're going to have to go out and fucking get some.
I'm not going to buy anything. I will make something.
Okay, that works as well. I better be respectful when we beat your ass, by the way.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, brother. You got anything else for us?
No, man. MVP producer Amber. And go Colts, man. I hope they come out as the underdog and beat those Browns' ass.
All right. Well, brother, wish you luck. Evo, you got anything else for Torres before we let him off the line here?
No, I don't. Go have a fun time drinking and enjoy your TDY.
Yeah, tear up Tucson.
Sounds good, brother.
All right, buddy.
All right, bye.
Bye. All right, so that was Sexy Torres shotguns. Obviously, he's got the Colts. I'm going Browns, but I'm going Browns money line. I'm not taking the cover. The offense has still kind of been up and down. Deshaun Watson should not play if he's not 100%. I don't know if he's going to play. I don't think anybody knows for sure yet because the clandestine operations that the fucking Browns have been running, it doesn't make any sense on why we're not telling everybody, hey, this is when he got hurt. This is where he's doing. I don't understand the secrecy unless something bad has gone on that they're trying to hide. But regardless, I still got the Browns in this game. I doubted them last week. I didn't think the defense was going to be enough to keep them in that game against what looked like the best offense in football. If the Browns can shut down the 49ers, though, I have faith that we can shut down a Gardner Minshew-led Colts offense. So Browns, money line for me.
Yeah, it's Browns money line for me as well. The hook, the 3.5 points, that's what gets me. Just because I'm not sure about the Browns offense, to be completely honest. The defense obviously is unquestionable. They're going to be great. It's how much offensive production are you going to be able to put out there? That's where my questions lie. So you guys should win. It would be an upset if the Colts were able to get one against you guys. Maybe it's emotional, like letdown because of last week, if that happens. But I believe that you guys should win that game.
So also, before we move on to the last game, your game, shout out to the Cleveland Browns Foundation and Grant Delpit. I got this fucking signed football. So everybody knows, or anybody who watches, I guess, knows that I go and I work the Browns games. I do sales for the 50-50 raffle throughout the game until the end of the third quarter. And then I get to chill and kind of watch the fourth quarter of the game. So I get to, kind of take in and be at all the Browns home games. Well, there was a sales competition for before the game. Whoever could do the most tailgate sales would receive a signed football. And I fucking dominated, dude. I sold like $900 worth of 50-50 raffle tickets in an hour before gates opened. I beat if you take the number 2 sellers, number 3 seller, and the number 4 seller, and you combine everything that they sold together, I fucking sold more than them as the number 1. So I got this football. So shout out Grant Delpit, shout out Cleveland Browns Foundation. I just need to get a case because this box ain't gonna work. It's gonna have to get put up there. Grant Delpit, big fan. Also having a Pro Bowl season right now, has looked like a fucking stud.
Yeah, Delpit and that whole defense in general is looking awesome.
They've been great. And shout out to me for my ability to sell shit. I could sell bacon to Hamas. Enjoy that joke before we get banned.
Yeah, because I already got banned once this week by a social media platform for speaking out against Hamas. Apparently that is supporting a terrorist organization.
But those are topics that we'll cover Monday night when we record our next episode of The Talk. And then that will be out hopefully sometime this next week. But we got another episode of that recording on Monday, coming out probably Wednesday. But we're not done here just yet. We're both Browns money line. We got one more game, your game, the Monday night. Let's break this thing down. Go ahead, Will.
So Monday night, 49ers come to Minneapolis, play my Vikings. The line is currently San Francisco -7, over under a 44. Like I said, Chris McCaffrey practiced today. He is listed as questionable. Trent Williams is doubtful, and I am unsure of the status for Deebo Samuels. Obviously, 49ers are kind of coming off of a unexpected loss last week, one that I actually took the points. I took the points for the Browns, so I believe that I did some of the positive juju for your team there last week.
You did.
But my Vikings are 2-4. We got a scrappy win last week in a just absolutely terrible game versus a shitty Bears team. Again, I say this every week. Vikings have a good team. They tend to find ways to shoot themselves in the foot, mostly turning the ball over. And it's really frustrating. The equalizer in this game will be those injuries for the 49ers. If Christian McCaffrey, and I'm not saying this just because my Vikings are playing them. Christian McCaffrey has an injury history. We all know about this. Don't rush him back. You guys are a Super Bowl contender. If he has to sit a week, good. Let him. Your backups aren't terrible in Elijah Mitchell, right? Let him get healthy because you're going to need him, not this week. You're going to need him 5, 6, 7+ weeks down the line. That's when it's really going to matter. All right. So playing it safe, they should sit him. Whether or not they'll do that, I'm not sure because, look, it is a Monday night game. They get a little bit of extra time to heal and recuperate. Even if they don't play, those players don't play, I fully expect Shanahan to be able to develop a game plan that still will exploit what the Vikings are doing wrong. I do expect the 49ers to win this game. And beyond that, the Vikings are playing in primetime on Monday night. Primetime games are bad for us. Monday night games are even worse, specifically for Kirk Cousins. Cousins is 2-10 straight up and against the spread on Monday Night Football, and he's 0-7 straight up against the spread as an underdog on Monday Night Football. He throws 17 touchdowns and 11 interceptions in those games. Kirk Cousins does not perform well. His best target is not on the field in Justin Jefferson, who is still on the IR. You have TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, KJ Osborne, a little bit of Josh Oliver mixed out there. That's a decent receiving team, but it ain't the same as having Justin Jefferson out there. You also have Alexander Madison, the run game, who has looked okay, but they still have not scored a rushing touchdown this year. That's not going to win you football games. I don't want my team to lose. We're 0-3 at home. We're probably going to be 0-4 at home after this. The only saving grace that we possibly have are those injuries for the 49ers and the fact that we like to play everyone close. So I'm going to take Vikings plus the points here. I do not expect us to win. I'll take Vikings plus the points because we could keep this within a touchdown because that's just how we like to play our games, apparently. So I don't know what to do with this season for the Vikings.
Yeah,
because I'm at that point where it's like, hey, I'm at a coin flip right now, Caleb Williams or Drake May, who I'd rather have, and we are within reaching distance of getting those guys if our season continues to go bad. And I don't think that we're going to have some crazy roster shakeup any more than we would if we won out the rest of the year or we lose out the rest of the year. But if we lose out the rest of the year, we have a better chance of getting one of those high-profile, top-end quarterbacks that could be our quarterback for the next decade. And that's kind of what I'm looking for right now. So, I mean, if we lose this game, we might start seeing those movements of like Danielle Hunter, maybe a Harrison Smith, who would, I'd be really sad to see him go as well because I love Harry the Hitman. But it's kind of where we're at right now. Got to get rid of some of these veteran players that aren't going to be with us next year and look forward to the future.
Yeah, listen, man, I had high hopes for you guys coming into the season. It's just not working out right now, and it's not. I don't think it's anybody's fault in particular. The pieces are not working the way that you expected because your offensive line has been really fucking good. Like you have the two best tackles or two of the best tackles in all of football.
The number one left tackle, number 3 right tackle together. They're as a tandem. They're considered the best tackle group in the NFL right now. The interior has suffered.
The interior has not been great, but I mean, you should get something. I don't like the fact that you guys are continuing to run the inside zone second year in a row. It's not working for the personnel that you have. I still think outside zone would be better, but I don't know how it's going to work in Kevin O'Connell's offense. The defense is improved, but they're not very good. Like you guys find ways to hurt yourselves, and we've been talking about it for weeks. And I don't know that this is going to be any different other than the fact that you guys find a way to play everybody close. Doesn't matter how good or shitty the opponent is. Like you guys will find a way to stay within fucking 7 points of the Bears, and you'll probably find a way to stay within 7 points of the fucking 49ers. But I'm not willing to risk that. So the smart play here for me, I'm going to take the 49ers on the money line. They're the better team. They've shown that they're the better team. Could they cover? Could the Vikings cover? Absolutely. But we are going to probably see a bounce back from this 49ers team, even if they're missing pieces. Shanahan's not going to go out there 2 weeks in a row and they're not going to lay a dud. I don't believe that is there. And Brock Purdy is probably finally hearing all the noise that he's a 7th round pick, Mr. Irrelevant. He shouldn't be here. He's a weapons merchant. Brock is a little bit more than a weapons merchant because you can see that Brock is doing things in this offense that a guy before him, like a Jimmy G, was unable to do. So he's more than just that, but he's not a world beater by any means. Going 49ers, money line.
Yeah. Now, if by some chance the Vikings are able to get a win here, we are going to the Super Bowl. all the way. And the season has flipped around because we do have a relatively easy schedule for like the next 6 weeks. But that's probably not going to happen. So either way,
Joe's not going to call in anymore if he goes down back-to-back weeks against the Browns and the Vikings.
Yep. That'll wrap up week 7 for us though here in the NFL. We have 6 teams on bye: Bengals, Cowboys, Titans, Jets, Panthers, and Texans. Next week we'll resume with some of our European football, I believe, with teams starting to play their games in Germany. But with that, I think that pretty much covers it for the week.
Yeah, that should do it, man. Evo, I appreciate you. Everybody who called in, interacted with the show throughout. Appreciate you guys as well. I am Mike. That is Evo. This is the Lineman Lounge. You can find us anywhere on social media. You go to the Facebook group. We are still active on there, even though Evo's had some difficulties on there recently.
I had a 24-hour timeout.
I know you did have
because I supported a terrorist organization, Israel, apparently, according to Facebook.
We also got the Twitter page at Lineman Lounge, TikTok, Instagram, all that. If you want to watch us, go back, check out anything before, go to the YouTube, hit the like, subscribe, hit the bell, all of that shit. If you want to listen to our beautiful voices, because we're just too damn good to look at, go to any podcast platform. We are there as well. But with that, we're going to get the fuck out of here. We will see you guys next week. Thank you for spending time with us. Let's get the fuck out of here. See you.